Hello everyone. Welcome to JACOV webinar. I hope everything will starting now. At least I'm checking everything that it will go okay. So I hope I need to wait a couple of seconds more. Yeah. Now I see the stream is going. Hello everyone. Welcome to JACOV webinars. So my name is Roman Meerson, and I'm the driver of this initiative. And I really glad to see all of you today on our new webinar. Today we will talk about the really nice topic about Kubernetes. So I hope you will love it. Before I welcome to my virtual studio our today's speaker, and we'll have a small talk with him, I want to remind all of you that on this YouTube channel we'll have more webinars coming soon. Also, we have here records from Java Z Day, which are coming every week on Thursdays. So please go down, click subscribe button on this channel. Also, please click the bell button so you would receive notification about all our content. We would really appreciate that. So please do this, and we want more subscribers on our channel so YouTube algorithms would see this, and we would rise higher and more people would know about our webinars and join us. So please do this, click subscribe button, click bell button. This is really important for us to make a good content for you. I want to remind you that we have a podcast. It's in Russian for this moment, so it holds JavaHut. So if you speak Russian, you may find this podcast on mostly any platform where you want to listen podcast. Just put JavaHut there and search for this and listen for really interesting topics. I hope they're interesting for you, and they will be interesting for you. On this point, I want to invite to my virtual studio Ihor Skostariev. Just give me a second, I click the button. Yeah, Ihor, hello, how are you?
Hello, so far so good, and how are you?
Yeah, that's great. I'm great as well. So we have a new webinar, so I'm really happy about that. So before we proceed with your topic, and I know I saw your topic on the dry run, so I know it would be really interesting. Could you just tell a couple words? What would it be about, or like for whom it would be interesting and useful?
So basically, it's for everyone who interested for Java developers. Yeah. So first of all, the main focus on Java developers, everything for you guys. So about level, I think it's for everyone between junior and lead developers, but I don't think that if you're like very experienced guy with Kubernetes and you like work with Kubernetes starting from the very beginning, like of the time or from the beginning of the Kubernetes, I don't think that you find something new, but who knew? Maybe something you will find out, or at
Sometimes it's
least
good to repeat.
yeah, or maybe you will share your knowledge. So you like want to stay on stay online. Yeah. So
Just want to remind.
yeah.
So just want to remind, as you said, that we have chat here in YouTube. So in case of any questions, or if you want to share your knowledge, as Igor mentioned, so feel free to just go there and type your comment there. I will read all the comments, and we will have special time for questions in the meantime of webinar. So when there will be this time, I will ask all your questions to Igor. So don't hesitate to type your questions there. We will read all of them and try to respond. Yeah, Igor, sorry I interrupted you in the middle.
So I was saying about what it will be about. So it's about how we can live with Kubernetes and Java, because like when you have more abstraction, it like go with some overhead of building, overhead of deploying, overhead of debugging. It becomes more complicated because now everything is containers, new abstractions, so you still need to cope somehow with that complexity. So, and I hope I will share my knowledge and my experience, and I just hope it helps to somebody to relieve the pain. Yeah.
Yeah, great, great. I think we don't need to waste more time and we may jump right to the topic. So I hope most of guys who want to join our webinars already joined. Just to saying that, I'm not sure that it's needed, that recording of this stream, of course, will be on our YouTube channel. So just click subscribe button so you won't miss it for sure. And you may always come back and re-listen and rewatch it. Okay, saying that, Igor, good luck with your webinar. Guys, waiting for your questions in chat. I just want to share Igor's screen. Yep, and remove myself. Good luck.
Okay, thank you. So, Kubernetes for Java developers. Stop struggling and start enjoying. So, first of all, who am I? I'm at work. I'm lead software engineer, and I have quite some experience with working with Kubernetes, about 3 years. And in life, I'm a snowboarder. Yeah, so that's important for some reason, and we will see later why. So, who can be interested? So, yeah, I already answered that question, but once again, let's double check. So, junior to lead developers who new to Kubernetes, and what you can get from this webinar is find some tips and tricks that I have, and I will share like my tool set that once again I hope help you as well. Prerequisites, they are actually optional, but I think you will benefit more if you will be familiar with core concepts of Kubernetes and you will be aware of the main pain points developing for Kubernetes and in Kubernetes. Yeah. Okay. So, few disclaimers. It's not a secret knowledge. You can find all this information in the web, and as I did. So, but I probably add something like from my experience and maybe save you a couple of minutes of searching it through the web. And yeah, as I already mentioned, it's all examples are based on my experience. Your might be different. And with that being said, without any further ado, let's get started. So, what the main actually problem might be with developing in Kubernetes? It's developer loop. Yeah, so there is a lot of different images about how it goes in Kubernetes, but to simplify that, we can tell that we have we want immediate response to our changes and response when code looks ready. So I give you a few examples. So if you debugging, you want to put a breakpoint and get like all information that you can have from that breakpoint, maybe add some small call of methods and immediately see the result. Or when you're developing new feature, I'm not sure about you, but I can't write everything right from scratch. So I'm exploring, maybe looking at, like different libraries, maybe like few entities I need to create and then wrap it up. So most of the time in such kind of development, code doesn't work. I mean, it might not even compile, but I'm just in the middle of writing and I don't want to have this like extra builds, extra deploys. Like I don't want to see compilers because it's not ready. So I want to run that code only when it's ready. Yeah. So start from small. How we can relieve our pain points just if we have only one single service. So because in Kubernetes, very often we are using microservices. There's more than one, but what if we have only one? What we can improve in our code to make it works better for us? So let deployment manage your dependency. So as you can see here, like we will be building a ski resort application that will provide information about ski resort. So that's why important that I love snowboarding. So that's why ski resort. So this application has a dependency database. So it works with database, and in your environment, you want to wrap it up and let deployment do that for you. You don't want to have multiple scripts to do that. Make your application Kubernetes aware. So to some extent, you can pretend that your application running somewhere else, not in Kubernetes. And actually, to some extent, it works fine. So you maybe like just running in Beanstalk, AWS Beanstalk, or Nomad, HashiCorp, or whatever. Yeah, so just knowing that it is container, that would be pretty much enough. But actually, it is a good idea to make your application Kubernetes aware. And for most important, I believe, is to optimize your container build, because there is so many tools actually that can build your container, and it is actually very sad that in most projects it's just a plain Docker file. When you build in, first you build the jar file and then just put it into a container. In this case, it is very difficult to improve your experience with Kubernetes, and I will show you later why and how you can do that. So first, let deployment manage your dependency. So what you can use for that? Plain Kubernetes manifest. So you can write everything down by yourself, but it will take a lot of time and knowledge, and you will be reinventing the wheel each and every time. So that is, you should be careful with that. Yeah, customize. That's another tool that just allows you to like to make some kind of template from your Kubernetes manifest and then change it from environment to environment. So it's like more about customization. Yeah, that's why it's called customize. And probably the most popular and powerful tool is Helm. So actually, Helm allows you to manage your dependency and build it as charts and include one chart to another as dependency. So yeah, I will show you it on examples how I'm using Helm during development. So make your app Kubernetes aware. So actually, Spring loves Kubernetes, and there was few good webinars about how Spring loves Kubernetes. So checklist how how aware your app about Kubernetes. Use Spring Cloud Kubernetes. That will allow you to put configuration into config maps or secrets and share between your components and reload your application during the changes. So it just give you so less time on building application after changing the property file. Okay, configure props. Yeah, that's very important topic. Yeah, we have three type of props. It's readiness prop, liveness prop, and startup props. And actually, two of those three its readiness and liveness prop are out of the box with with Spring. Startup prop is not there yet, but by design, by documentation, it's for legacy application, and it's not always necessary to override this prop. And last but not least, make your app wait for dependency like database. Okay, so let me show that on example. So very simple example of ski resort, and it has just few endpoints. Yeah, one that provide the list of ski resorts, all availables, and another is just looking by the name. So very simple, straightforward. So let's see how I addressed those issues, as I mentioned before, about dependency and how I'm wrapping everything up. So I'm using Helm, and I have pretty much standard deployment, and I have a config map where you can see all my configuration. It's not in it's not part of application, it's not part of the packaging because it's just a configuration. So it's very convenient to manage it outside there. Another part is manage dependency is database. So instead creating multiple files, I can just specify that, okay, please use existing, well-tested and well-designed Helm chart as part of this Helm chart. And just to show you that it is you like save a lot of time of reusing already prepared chart. If you go through those files, I don't think that you will be enjoying writing all this down by yourself. Okay, so now I think we can check our application. One second. So I have a local cluster. And let's see what we have there. And it should be nothing, empty. And now I just want to start it. And how I can do that? Helm install and ski resort and ski resort. So that's the name of the chart and where it placed. Okay, by installing the chart, I will get a lot of stuff. First of all, deployment of the application itself, and you will see get stateful set. That's my database. One more thing that I've embedded in my application, because when you start everything in Helm, it doesn't guarantee the ordering. So let's imagine that database, it takes more time to start database than your application. So what will happen in this scenario? It fail. Like if database is not ready, your application will fail with an error. But by adding just a small bin that validate and wait for database. So in this scenario, if your database will not be ready, your application will wait for 30 seconds 7 times. Yeah, and you need to specify actually bins that are dependent on your database. For me, it's Liquibase and Entity Manager because I'm using JP. Okay, so, and Now let's test our application. For that, I can just port forward from cluster to my local machine. Ski resort deployment, and I say something like here. Yeah, and now I can run command like it is on my local machine. Yeah, and we see like 3 resorts is Slovenia, Gudauri, and Bukovel. Yeah, so only 3, and we can it works, and we can. So for one application, it works fine. I manage my application. No issues here. Okay, let's move to presentation. Okay, so but things become more difficult. Yeah, we are growing. Let's say that our service become more popular and we have this availability service that works through Kafka in request reply pattern when all requests go to availability service, and then we have instances that installed somewhere in that resort, and they just provide us information that is this resort available or not. So to set up this application, we need to wrap this up once again. So it's like 3 application and 1 infrastructure, in our case Kafka. And we have a problem because actually Kafka doesn't belong to any of those services. So we probably want to deploy it separate. So we at least want to have such possibility to deploy it separately. We want to automate routine tasks like calling health checks after changing of code. Yeah, so there is like probably everyone in their applications after changing some piece of code they check through calling common API. Yeah, so and knowing those URLs is redundant. You can automate that, and you don't want to, and it's not always possible to change the code itself or build the way how it built how build your application, because maybe in your DevOps are familiar with Dockerfile but not with Jeep or any other tool that can help you build, and you don't want to like and don't want and can't probably change a lot of code just to improve your experience. Okay, so for that we have a very nice tool that's called Tilt uh, that will help to do that. Um, 1 second. For that, so I switched to another cluster. It's EKS cluster, and I will start. First, I will start this application, and then explain what is actually happening. So to start your setup, you just need to write one command, tilt up. That's it. And after that, you will see a nice prompt that if you press space, you will open the browser. Let's do that. And what you will see is this nice UI. And you will see how it deploys. So now it's deploying Kafka itself, and then it will we have this availability service, Bucavel service, and Gudauri. Yeah, so just three of them. And we will see how it builds, and it builds in different way. I will get back to it later, but let's just see, like at least try to notice what service will start first. So Gudauri service is way ahead of others. So let's see what we have in this magic file and how it can help us. What we should describe. 1 second. I will open it. So it is difficult to show that file because it's, once again, it's not part. Why I cannot show you it in the code? Because it's not part of the project, of any project. So it's outside your projects. So, okay, give me a sec, guys. Sorry for the delay. Yay. Okay, that's, we don't need. Okay, so first, this file described in this specific Python-like programming language. So you can use variables, for loops, and many more. And you have this function where you can describe, okay, I need to use Helm to deploy Kafka just for myself. So as I was showing previously, in this scenario, Kafka doesn't belong to any of those services. And we can install it just from our tilt file. Okay, so we can do that like this. Then we have three very similar records. It's custom built. So that's how I'm building those three services. One is built, the fastest one is built by Jeep. It's a plugin designed by and developed by Google. And another two services are built by embedded from, I believe, quite a while, Spring Boot plugin. Yeah, so you can just build an image without writing any Docker file or any specification, just it, like Spring gives you it out of the box. Then you need to specify how to deploy your applications, your images that will be built by these tags to the cluster. Yeah. So that's where you can specify your own on reuse existing one. So nothing stopped me from building my own custom deployment file, deployment manifest, and it's if if the file that goes with with repository doesn't fit to my needs for some reason. And we have this nice Kubernetes resource that I'm just literally telling, okay, so please port forward to check how works my application. Please port forward port 8080 to my local host 8080 for that deployment. And this is two local resources that you can find on this nice UI is run script and check. So run script, what it does, it just run script that is placed in the root directory of where a tilt file. So it's outside the project. So you can add your custom optimization and just call it from here. Hello shell script. That's nice. And check, because local resources run like on the start. And what we are doing here, we are calling localhost 8080 check availability Gudauri. So we want to check the availability of the ski resort. Yeah, Gudauri. Okay, so let's do it once again. And now, since all our application or our parts like of our application are green, we have this result that Gudauri is opened from 9:30 to 4. And okay, so we have this nice application. Uh, that's availability service that just write to Kafka, and another application, Gudauri application, that just return the hard-coded values. So usually you will need to build your application, compile, build image, do all the stuff, and it takes quite a while. So let's see how long it takes if I'm using Jeep and Tilt, how long it takes to rebuild my application in case I want to uh, enjoy a ride for a little bit longer. So I'm just changing changing a number, no creaks, and almost immediately I see how Tilt noticed that some files were changed and we need to rebuild it. And I want to mention once again that all this in AWS cluster. So it's not my local machine. So no load on my computer, because with it is common problem when you have 8 plus 10 plus 12 plus whatever applications, and you need to start it, and it's almost impossible because your laptop is a bit less powerful than a production machine. Yeah, so we change the time. Let's check our change, does it work or not. So I'm running check, and we'll see that it works. And we have a nice history of those calls. Uh, okay, so what I want to show you, because once again, it still take quite some time to see the result of changes. But what will happen if I will try to uh, run another application, availability, the application that is calling this Goodwill service, because maybe there is a bug somewhere here and I want to check what we are calling, no matter what. Yeah. Uh, and if we will check the configuration of this application, we will see that we are using Kafka like as a service name that like of the Kafka that deployed in Kubernetes. And what will happen if I'll try to run this application locally? Do I need to start Kafka on my machine and change it to like local host? Well, not necessary. So let's see what will happen. And it should fail. And we will see that. Because Kafka is not a proper DNS name. It's not actually a name. It's not reachable. Yeah. So that's why. So what should, yeah, and I don't want to start Kafka on my machine because let's imagine it's very unpowerful Chromebook. Yeah. So what I can do is use another very nice tool, which is as simple as it could be. So sudo kube forward, and I'm telling to this application that please forward all services in namespace default to my machine. Yeah, it will ask a password. And it will show that now I have Kafka 1992 to pod Kafka 1992. So what it tells me that now I can use my local machine and this. So for my machine, this is now valid address. And if I will try to start it, it will work. Yep. So you see how like sorry. So you see how just by calling one and running one application, your life become much easier. So and since it's like some kind of middle of this presentation, Roman, do we have any question from YouTube or?
We have just a small question on YouTube
Yep.
that asking if it would be possible to share the code on GitHub or anywhere, so guys would be
Of
able
course,
to look.
of course. It's not
Great.
there, but I will commit it. I promise.
Okay, great. So we will add the link to the code here in the description on YouTube, and also we have one comment from Pavel that he's still struggling, but I hope he will stop do this stuff in closer to the end of the webinar.
Yeah. So maybe he have more specific question. I will try to relieve his pain. Yeah.
Sure. So guys, please type your questions to the chat, and we will ask these. I will ask these questions later. So please proceed. Yeah.
Okay. So that's already, I think it's like a win. Yeah. So it is much better experience than it was before. Yeah. So we can connect. So for now, it's just Kafka, one application, not a big deal. Yeah. But let's imagine it is 5-10 applications that you need to connect, and to manage those like port conflicts is very difficult. But this tiny app, only one command will help you a lot. Okay, so we can move to slides. Where is my slides? Okay, so tilt. No server or code changes, so I haven't touched to adopt tilt. I don't need to make any changes. Run everything on cluster, so yeah, you can simultaneously play on your laptop and develop something. And you can run custom tasks, some automation, very nice. And we now familiar with this Kube forward application. It is everything like in cluster and one command tool. Yeah. Okay, so let's move to another scenario when we have, let's say, our application become more popular and we have a need to check a weather on that ski resort. So, and we want to put also API gateway for single point of entrance to our application. So pretty standard architecture. So once again, what we want to achieve, we want to wrap everything up, automate your dev loop, and get local development like experience. Because once again, every second that you are struggling or waiting, it's a bad second. Yeah. So for that, we can use Skaffold. It's also a very popular tool designed by Google, and it will allow like same requirements, no server or code changes, run everything on the cluster, and super fast loop. So let's check how we can do that. For this, I need another, yeah, gateway and weather. And what I need to do once again is switch to another cluster. Now it's my local cluster. Yeah, so only ski resort. And let's go to my enjoy Kubernetes. Come on, Skaffold demo. And you see, now we have only, okay, let's make it just two applications, two repositories. They just check out. I not even prepared for like prepared a file for that, but I can generate it, scaffold init, and say like with that flag that enable drip init, and after a second, yeah, it scan my two repositories and say, okay, you are like trying to build those two images. That's the folders as a context, and that's would be the project, and it finds like some deployment scripts, and yeah, looks fine. I agree with that, and it give me another guideline. So I should run scaffold f. Let's see what it does. So what it actually does. Let's see. While it's starting, let's see what it does. So uh, two applications. One is a gateway with very simple routing. Whatever goes to resort goes to resort. Whatever ends with weather goes to weather. That's it. That's for the gateway. And for the weather itself, it's just a simple, you can think about it like a proxy applications that making a call uh, to open weather API, I believe. So it is actually, we will see the actual weather. Yeah. So, and we are building it. Just everything is building. We see how the container structured. See that it was already built, pushed, so it found, because I've tested. I always test my code. And we see a logs of those two applications right in my terminal. So let me do this magic with this port forwarding one more time. Yep. And now I see that I have a gateway service, so I can HTTP gateway service resort, and I see that it's working. Now I want to do something like that, or and let's say I want to check what is the weather. So previously we checked Godauri, so Georgia. Now let's check Italy. And we see the weather. Yeah, so pretty straightforward. It's working. But what if we want to like change something? I don't know. Uh, let's I don't know. Let's print the weather capitalized in terminal. Yeah, best. So by changing that, Skaffold notice the changes and we'll try to and we'll build it once again. And it takes a lot of time actually. So I'll just show you how like initial, and now I will tune it a bit and we will see how it improve the performance. So now we'll just build the image. And now it need to deploy. So it takes some time. See what's going on. No errors. It's a good sign.
So maybe while we're waiting, it's a
Yep.
time for like more questions. So
More
not to.
questions. Nice.
Yeah.
Very good idea.
So
Yeah, indeed.
I just waiting. I just waiting for you to ask me. So we have a question in the chat. I will just read it. How do you realize versioning when you work with Kubernetes? An idea to have compatibility between container services, or did you realize rollbacks? Or can you tell something about that?
Okay, so basically, if we're talking about releases, we have this like idea of Helm charts. So it is a good idea if one installation, like version of Helm chart, represent the like this one unit when it all versions are coupled, gathered, and work properly. So that's the simplest way to manage version. If
Okay.
I if I
Looks
understood your like question.
looks like the answer. So if Sergey have more comments here, so please type them in chat. And what about rollbacks?
Yeah, once again, Helm will help you. You have this like idea of releases, and it might roll back. So it's go like out of the box with Helm.
Okay. And one more question, like a small one. So how about using Tilt on Windows? Do you have this experience?
Yes,
And is it the
yes.
same as on macOS?
Well, to be honest, I've never used it in on Windows machine, but according to their documentation, it is possible because I don't have Windows machine.
Okay. Okay, guys. So you may try that and tell
Yeah,
us
yeah. So
if it's okay.
should work. Should work.
Okay. So no more questions for the moment.
Okay, great. So now we will see. Now we will see the Italy capitalized in our console, and we are happy. But we are not happy how long it takes. So now I will use a little bit of black magic to show you and to tune the file, scaffold file, and then we will see how it different. Okay, so first, let me open that file. Yeah, so we have description of, let's say we build in weather application, we want to change it, and it use by default Jeep once again, and it is and it is using Jeep for building this application. Oh, another screen. Sorry guys for jumping over that. Yeah. So if you will, come on. Yeah, here it is. So you'll see I'm using Jeep here. Very straightforward. I'm saying, okay, image name and allow insecure resources because it's my local host. Yeah. But how can I tune that? And can I change the way it built without changing the actual code? Yes, I can, of course. So let's see the weather. Instead of Jeep, I'm just, yeah, there is few ways how you can build images in Scaffold. It's by just Docker file, Jeep, build packs. You can use one Calico, I believe it's pronounced like that. It's in cluster build tool. And another way is build custom build command. So you can do whatever you want to build this application. So what I'm going to use is build packs. So I'm without touching any code, I'm saying, okay, please build from this build base image. Yeah. So um, from this base image, build my image. Please build it when POM XML or resources or one of my classes are changed. And please do not just rebuild the image, but just sync the files between my local machine and the container that run somewhere in the cluster. And now I'm specifying source, destination, and some, let's say, filter. Yeah. So whatever it change here, please go there and from these resources, not from like just as a root folder. Yeah. So that's the magic. So now I save this file and Scaffold immediately react on to that. And you see, instead of Jeep, you see this Packer files. So Packer output. And let's see what the difference between the speed of reacting to the changes. Okay, so weather, where is my weather application? So we were printing capitalized name, and what if we want to remove it? Yeah, so first build take some time. It's fine. So it's only once. You start in your application only once. So shouldn't be a problem. Maybe questions?
Yeah, we have small question. So if you will be able to show how you may debug the code from the IDE, or it's not the point of this webinar. So if it's
Of
not, that's
of
okay.
of course I do. Of course.
Okay, okay. So let's wait for that.
But that's not the main point of the
Of course,
this
I mean one
webinar.
of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
yeah.
But of course.
Okay, guys. So just a reminder while we're waiting. So if you have more questions, please type them in chat in YouTube. So I will be able to read all of them. So don't hesitate to do that. Okay, we have one.
Sure.
One more question. I mean, is there a way to manage Spring profiles via magic you shown, other
Yeah.
than regular approach?
Yeah, sure. You have this like first of all you have where is it? You have just environment. You can set environment variables, so you can do whatever you want here. Set environment variables, or in custom, for instance, custom build file. So it will looks like I will not going to save, but just try to show you. So custom, so instead of build pack, you can do custom and build commands and tell whatever you want here. So, and you will use this image variable because Skaffold will add the hash to the tag, and you want to label each image that was built by Skaffold by its tag. Okay, so now we've started our application, and if I'll try to look for the weather for Italy, I will get it, and I will see the Italy here. Okay, I've seen enough, and I want to remove that. And the beauty is that it doesn't react for changes just by deleting. I just compile the code. So it's Command Shift F9 and waiting for changes. That's it. Sync files, and it restarted. And if I will hit this URL one more time, I will see the weather, but I don't see any sign of Italy once again. So that's what I call close to local environment development in the cluster. So it might now it's my local cluster, kind cluster, yeah, but it might be AWS, GCP, whatever cluster you want to use. Okay, and last but not least, uh, let's let's try to debug it locally, and luckily, I hope. So let's start this application as it is, just a weather application. Since there is no dependency, I don't need anything, but it might have, and it's not a problem. Okay, so some ports are busy. I don't want to waste time on debugging. I just, oh, very handy. I just reuse another one. Okay, so it started and it's locally, run locally. And if I will try to do something like this, weather I will see result. Yeah, just to prove. You see? Yeah. So I have my breakpoint. Oh, one more point. Actually, thanks for asking about debugging. You can use it as just add a debug. So in Skaffold there is, I believe it's still in beta or even alpha. Skaffold. Let's see. Where is it? Debug. It should be somewhere. Debug. Yeah, in beta. So it will add environment variable with proper port forwarding, and so you could attach your remote debugger to that port. But I will show you a better way. So now I have this application run locally, and I can debug it. But it's not very useful because it's just detached from other services. So what if I want to make cluster know about this instance? What can I do? I can use a very handy application called telepresence. So I need to tell it connect. Then I can check status and see that, okay, status. See that everything is okay, sounds and looks good. And now I can check how deployment called. So it's a weather deployment. This one, weather deployment. I need to tell telepresence, please intercept everything. Intercept weather deployment. Yeah, port 8080 to 8080. Okay, sorry. On demagods, come on. One last sample. Yay. So what it tells that any request that weather development received in cluster on this port should be forwarded to your local host to this port. And we see, for now we see nothing, and that's fine. So now to call weather, I can call it from my gateway application. So it will looks like gateway. On. Yep. And we see how request goes from cluster to our machine and then back to cluster. And it is one of the closest experience, like local development experience as you can get. Yeah, so that's it for the demo, and let's go to slides once again. So we talked about Skaffold, telepresence, debugging, uh, run everything on the cluster. Skaffold one more time. Very nice tool. So main takeaway from this talk, actually, all aspects of development are important. So what I mean by that, you cannot achieve this lightning speed without changing your paying attention, at least paying attention to process of building, process of deployment, process of how you wrapping everything up. You can improve all those aspects without touching a project code. That's a big win, I think. Uh, you really should try it by yourself, and I hope I convinced you that Kubernetes is not so scary. And that's it. Maybe we have more questions. I will be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, so we have some. I will ask you them. Just guys, if you have more questions, please type them in chat. So we have now time for your questions. I will do it uh, like this. So if we need to show you screen in the future, I will do it. Okay, so we have a question like, what tools do you recommend for deploying containers to Kubernetes cluster in production? And another part of this question, I have used Jenkins for a long time, but do you recommend any other tool for deploying the Kubernetes cluster?
Well, to deploy, like if we're talking about Jenkins, it's CI/CD tool. It's great tool. It's very powerful, mature. So if you're like short answer, whatever floats your boat. If you're happy with your existing tool, you can just check another, but stick to existing one. So I have a very good experience with Kubernetes as well. Not so great with TeamCity, and unfortunately, I hadn't chance to check Argo, which is specifically for shipping containers. So you can check and subscribe to this channel, yeah, and leave a comment. How was your experience?
Okay, so we also have here comments like that Helm is commonly used to manage
Yep.
deployment, and like doing it by hand is something nobody does since Helm came out. I just want to announce these comments in chat so it will be in the recording.
One more thing that I cannot stress enough how it's important, because it is I see it so many times when developers reinventing the wheel by writing Docker Compose file. So basically, if you already have a Helm chart uh, written by DevOps and other smart peoples, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, and it makes actually deployment and development experience different from production, and it is also always beneficial to have your development experience as close to production as you can get.
Okay, so we have another questions regarding this topic. So if we use these tools, we can do development of the services on a remote Kubernetes cluster, also known as local machine way. But does it mean that we need to have different clusters slash context for each team member?
I'm like context. It's a different terminology. It's about kubectl. If you're talking about namespace, like well, it's nice. Actually, I can share my another experience when on one of my side project when I and few my friends were doing some interesting stuff, and we are like we have separation of services, yeah, so not concerned about services, and now to integrate with service of my friend, I'm just changing a link, so I have a stable version of his version in my namespace, and I have this link in config map in my namespace, and to check how he's doing and how he broke everything. I just changed a link to his namespace to exactly the same service, and I have this communication, and I can check. So it is actually a very, if you can afford that, and like to have namespace per team member, or for per team, if you have multiple teams working on one big project, I think it would be beneficial for you.
Okay, I think that's a great answer. So we have one more question related to debug. I don't really think I get it, but if we
Hit me.
want to reply on these questions, so please retype it. So, is it mandatory to have debug argument on a Java app virtual machine arguments, or after port forwarding, it is enabled on your local by default? Well, I think I may
One.
reply is so we have to have arguments on Java app always, so Java app will be ready for remote debug. But so yeah, I think.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to have like, if I understood that question right, you're asking about if you want to have this remote debug to application cluster. Yeah, you need to port forward it. So it will be opened as a service, like on pod. Yeah, not a service, in pod, and you need to port forward it to your local machine. But luckily, Skaffold can do it for you. So you will see a nice line that port that was opened because you're in debug mode was port forwarded to your local machine. So you will be still connecting to your local host. But yeah, the magic will happen afterwards.
Okay, we at the moment don't have any questions, but we have one more comment which thanks you for the interesting presentation. So, guys, if you don't have questions but you want to thanks and appreciate Igor, please type this in chat. It's also really we really need this, so please do that. We will wait for a couple more seconds. If we will have more questions. While we're waiting, I just want to say that just please go below this video and click subscribe button and the bell button, so you will receive notifications about our future webinars, and we will have more subscribers on our channel, so more people would see our webinars, and I think it will be better for all of us. So yeah, we have comments that it was great presentation, so I don't think they have more questions. So from my side, Igor, thank you very much for this really nice presentation. I think it was really useful and really hands-on experience on Kubernetes. I hope less guys would struggle from Kubernetes on their projects
I
and
hope
pet
so.
projects.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this such a nice presentation, and we will wait you back with more nice topics.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So guys, thank you very much for being with us today. I hope you like this webinar. If you do, please go click like button, subscribe on our channel, click bell button so you will receive notifications about more webinars. Also we have our page on Community.zat. You may find the link in the description. So please join our community there, so it also would receive notifications. Also, if you register through Community.zat, you would receive feedback on this webinar. Please fill it, and we would know your opinion. We read all the feedbacks, so please do that as well. From my side, thank you very much, everyone, for being with us. Yeah, a lot of comments with thanks and with appreciations for this great webinar. So Igor, it's all for you. Guys, thank you for being with us. From my side, have a great Friday and great weekend, and see you on the future webinars. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.